Coming up on the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
So for us, my own workout, personally, I've stuck with what works, that has stood the test of time.
Yeah, same here.
That will continue to work. There's no reason to change it up. Change it up as far as like maybe the order, maybe the rep count, things like that. Because my addiction to this, as far as the human body, which I'm obsessed with, is the result. I don't care about the task to get it done. I don't care what the tool you use. If you're telling me this one barbell can shape my entire body, I'm good with that. And I don't care if that gets 10 likes over instead of getting 50,000. We're not going to lie to people. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of lying and misinformation and pulling the wool over people's eyes. And people are draining a lot of their money because of the image of what people think works, because of the number at the top of people's profiles.
Welcome to the Mindful Midlife Crisis, a podcast for people navigating the complexities and possibilities of life's second half. Join your hosts, Billy and Brian, a couple of average dudes who will serve as your armchair life coaches as we share our life experiences, both the good and the bad, in an effort to help us all better understand how we can enjoy and make the most of the life we have left to live in a more meaningful way. Take a deep breath, embrace the present, and journey with us through the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
Welcome to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. I'm your host, Billy, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Brian, on the bass. Brian, how you doing over there, man?
I'm effervescent today.
Effervescent.
Yes,
I love it. I love it. I have a T-shirt idea. Here's our T-shirt idea.
Lay it on me.
So I think we should get a T-shirt where it says, how you doing today, Brian? And then it's a picture of you giving the Buddy Christ pose from Dogma.
I like it so far.
And then on the back, it has all of your responses.
Are we going to date them? Like on which day I said it?
Oh, that could take it to another level right there. I like it, because then people will be like, what's this shirt all about? Like, let's do the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
Well, I assume it's supposed to be like a tour shirt. You know what I mean? Yeah, right.
Oh, that's an awesome idea.
Thank you.
Once again, you just take it to another level.
That's my job, man. You build the level and I just take it to another one.
Speaking of taking it to another level, this week, you guys have the distinct honor of getting an opportunity to listen to the interview that we had with Daleco James and Maurice Buchanan from WURK Gym in Minnetonka, Minnesota. We got to interview them inside their boxing ring that they have in their gym. How awesome was that?
Two incredible people. I just got to say, all it did is make me super excited for more guests, because I'm like, there's like millions of fascinating people out there.
They're fantastic. Talking to these two guys is like driving a Ferrari on the Autobahn. Like, you just put the pedal down and let them do their thing, because these guys are just high performance machines. And the two of them shared their wealth of knowledge on health, fitness, business, and community. And we had so much fun talking to them that we actually ended up interviewing them for over 2 hours. And it was all gold. Like, it was so good. Everything they had to say was fantastic. So we don't want to sell you, the listener, short from anything that they had to say. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up that interview into 2 parts. So we'll release part 1 on Wednesday, like we always do, just to get you through the midweek hump. And then we'll release part 2 on Saturday to get you pumped up for the weekend. So with that, here is our interview with Maurice Buchanan and Daleco James from WURK Gym. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mindful Midlife Crisis, coming to you live from the boxing ring at WURK Gym in Minnetonka, Minnesota, where the bone-chilling -6-degree weather outside is no match for the amount of hard work and sweat that has been poured out in this space by today's guests. Behind the red mic, standing 6 feet 4 inches tall, weighing in at approximately 208 pounds, originally from Louisville, Kentucky, this proud graduate of Hopkins High School has his Bachelor's of Science in Kinesiology from the University of Minnesota. With 13 years of experience as a personal fitness trainer and entrepreneur, this former Minnesota Golden Gopher football player has worked to bring fitness and support to people of all abilities and skill levels. He has also worked with professional athletes as an operations intern with the Minnesota Vikings, collegiate athletes, cancer survivors, expecting mothers, children, and adults with physical disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, Maurice Buchanan! Yeah! And behind the green mic, standing not quite 6 feet 4 inches tall, but with lightning fast hands that will rearrange your face for you, a passionate boxer since the age of 12 who holds a master's in kinesiology from the University of Minnesota and has 15 years of experience as a fitness trainer, boxing coach, and striking coach for both boxers and MMA fighters. He brings a breadth and depth of knowledge and strength, conditioning, and weight loss to his clients. Outside of the ring, he has been an elite gymnastics coach and stuntman with Team Open Air. He not only focuses on overall physical fitness, but he also has vast experience in rehabilitation, as well as experience working with clients of varying physical capabilities and persons with developmental disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, Chicago's own Daleco James! Yeah. I am your host, Billy, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend Brian on the bass. Brian, let's get ready to podcast! Here you go. How about that for an intro?
That was good.
All right, Brian, how you doing today, man?
I am remarkable.
Yes, I'm so excited. We are in the middle of a boxing ring at WURK Gym in Minnetonka, Minnesota, coming to you live. You're probably going to hear people working out behind us. It's pretty sweet. 2 big-time guests today, Maurice Buchanan, Daleco James. Thank you guys for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
It couldn't be bigger. This is our first location shoot. Thank you for having us, guys. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks
This
for being
is
here.
pretty exciting for us. So
One thing that we like to do on the podcast in order for our guests to introduce themselves is just to talk about what roles they play in their lives. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves a little bit by just telling us what are some roles that you guys play in your own lives.
I took this, me and Daleco kind of discussed together, and we kind of came with a combination of things. Some of those roles I'll mention now will be some that apply to him, some that apply to me, but overall kind of collectively all together. So the 10 we kind of came up with was father, son, brother, entrepreneur, business owner, idea, professional chameleon, partner, lane changer, and coaches. And those were our 10.
Fantastic. So then what are 3 roles that the 2 of you are looking most forward to in the second half of your life?
For me, definitely father. Not a father now. Daleco's a father with 2 kids. Hopefully in that other half, the second half, that'll be kind of something I take on. The other ones were definitely lane changer, and then the other one will be more like professional chameleon, or my definition of what that is.
can you explain a little bit what professional chameleon means?
Well, we've been doing this job for I've been in this career for about 15 years, and when you're involved with like anatomy and the human body and things of that nature, it almost felt like if you wanted to be professional in this industry, you had to be like shirt and tie and button up and dress shoes, and you had to be a certain way. And that didn't really appeal to me. Just that was kind of the dress code for this field. When I was at the University of Minnesota and we were getting our degrees, it was all like physical therapy, it was all doctors, it was all rehab assistants, things like that. And then when you looked at like kind of that idea, it was like everyone was always in like dress shirts and ties. It was like always like business related. So I'm like, there's got to be a different way that you can do this. And, and when I say professional chameleon, so same profession, but just like a different color. So we feel like that we are just as professional as a person in a shirt and tie in a rehab facility, but we're here and we listen to hip hop music and we wear Jordans and we're in a blacked out boxing gym, but we have just as much knowledge and experience as someone as a doctor or like a rehab assistant or a physical therapist in their office building. So, and we also kind of wanted to make sure that, that you can have those different levels of being professional, even though they all kind of look different. Like one of my favorite chiropractors is tatted from the neck down, from the neck all the way to the wrist. And if anybody wants to kind of talk with her, anything like that, she's just as good as anybody else who might be a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit more casual. But it's just that you're still just as professional, even though you might not look like the traditional part of what they call professional.
I love that. When we met with Sarah Rudell Beach, we appreciated her authenticity. And again, it sounds like you guys, this is your thing. Like, you want to be authentic, and this is who you are. And if you were to be dressed in suits and ties and that sort of thing, that you wouldn't feel as comfortable in that as you would here in this gym. And you guys, I mean, you take a look at your credentials. You know, you've got your bachelor's in kinesiology, and you've got your master's in kinesiology. You guys probably know what you're talking about when you're working with your clients. So
yes.
That's amazing. And then you also said, did you say game changer or lane changer?
Lane changer.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I thought about that one just because when you think about gyms, especially a gym like that, the idea is that you have to stay in one lane and you can only do kind of one thing, and it's just all you can do is lift, and all you can do is just do workouts. And as we're kind of moving forward, you know, as being entrepreneurs, like, we're kind of look at other different things, other different venues, to where it's not just being in the gym and just working out, and not just kind of putting, you know, a gym that looks like this in kind of just one space. When me and Daleco first got this place, we were like, we have a building now, so we can do anything we want in here. If we want to have a concert, we can do that. If we want to have, you know, if we wanted kids to come in and like show off like their art design, we can do that here. We have a, you know, it doesn't have to just be, hey, you're a gym, you guys do fitness, you can only stay in this lane. We're like, we can actually bounce around to whatever lane we want to now, because one, we have the expertise, we have the experience, we have the knowledge, we've also had the connections to do and branch this gym out to whatever it is, and not just fitness. So as we go forward into the second half of this, looking at different lanes to jump into that maybe traditionally gyms weren't allowed to jump into, or not as often you see them, and I was like, we can definitely do that.
That's amazing. What you're talking about is business diversification. That, you know, you can't do one thing, because if the market happens to fall out in that particular area, you don't have anything else to fall back on. Mm-hmm. But if your business is diversified, you've got several streams of income. It's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just thinking, so we're recording this, like we said, in the middle of the boxing ring here. I don't know if there's another gym in the Twin Cities, and maybe there are, but we're not there, and we don't want to be there. We want to be here. I don't know a lot of gyms that have a boxing ring. And when we were talking about before, like, Daleco was working with one of his clients, preparing him for a fight, or they just had a fight here. You said not too long ago.
Yeah, we had a fight, so we just sharpening some skills. You know what I mean? Always trying to get better. So work is never done. Mm-hmm. So we always trying to, you know, try to, again, add some more skills.
And when we walked in, we were talking to Maurice. We were talking about, like, some of the equipment that you have here. Like, you have a jammer, and you have what's that squat machine that is attached to the jammer?
Oh, it's the belt squat, and it's with the 50 cal trolley, with the two handles that kind of swing out on the back end of it.
I asked you, like, what's the advantage to having this as opposed to like a squat machine, and you gave it a remarkable answer. Can you explain why you have that belt squat machine?
Yeah, traditionally, when you get athletes who kind of get into the mindset they are trying to be weightlifters, and what you're trying to explain to them, you're not a weightlifter, so I don't really care about you trying to, you know, squat 400, 500 pounds. That's not relative to your sport. So in the teachings of trying to teach someone how to do a squat, it's like, well, could we spend less time trying to teach this very specific skill set of learning how to squat, and just get a belt squat where, hey, we can still train your legs. There's not too much form and technique. It's pretty quick, and focus more on your actual sport that you're going to do, because we just need to strengthen your legs. I don't need you to be the best squatter in the world. You're not trying to compete in the Olympics and Olympic squatting. So we have that because it takes kind of the pressure off some of the athletes there, especially boxers, and protecting their shoulders and arms. When I played football at the University of Minnesota, a lot of times, like halfway through the season, guys' shoulders were banged up. So trying to do a barbell squat, trying to reach behind your back, week 6, and your shoulders are all mangled just from kind of playing on, Saturday and kind of just getting banged up. And then guys were having a tough time trying to train their legs, just because we were kind of traditionally like just a, Olympic lifting type of gym. We had leg press here and there, but when guys couldn't reach behind them, it kind of made it a little bit more difficult to train their legs, because that was kind of one of the only modalities we have for training legs. So when we did this, and Daleco has a large of experience of dealing like with rehab people and working in rehab facilities more than I have. So when we were getting equipment, we were like, well, how do we train injured athletes or injured people, you know? So on top of that, that one serves that benefit, and also serves the benefit like we can train your legs. We don't have to teach you this very, very specific, because most people can't squat. Most people shouldn't squat. It's not good for them. Backs, shoulders, whatever you want to say for it. So that's a safer way to do it. You can load it up without worrying about injury, because that's really the main point, is making sure with strength training is that it's injury prevention. And and too many athletes are doing things in the gym where they're getting hurt in their training because they're lifting too heavy, or they're trying to do something that has nothing to do with their skill set. So we want to take that component out, make things safer, focus more on the actual sport they're doing.
Yeah, I don't let any of the fighters do back squats whatsoever. I mean, I guess people got this misconception, you know what I mean, on like, you got to build power from that. That's not how you build power. Just working on your skill can develop that power. Plus, that's not training at the speed of your sport. So you always have to train at the speed of your sport. You know what I mean? You always want to be on your toes. So like if I'm going to do a back squat, better option would probably be have 5-pound weights behind your heels and squatting like that. That's a better option. I wouldn't do that, but that's a better option. Doing a Xerxes squat, having a weight in front of you, opposed to having it on your back. I wouldn't have none of the athletes do back squats, So that wasn't my thing. So, I mean, a goblet squat is, a better option, you know what I mean? But other than that, and plus there's a pause too. You do back squat, you pause. But
and in boxing, there's not a lot of pause.
No, not a lot of pause.
you got to
you
stick and
down
move.
low anyway, because you know you bob and weave it, and you have to use your legs. So I wouldn't use, do any back squats on that. And plus, you pushing from the heels, but you always got to be on your toes. So that's actually, again, you're training slower than the speed of your sport.
Counterintuitive to how you want to be in your sport.
Right.
Excellent. So we heard from Maurice about the 3 that he's looking forward to in the second half of his life. How about for you, Daleco? What are you looking forward to in the second half of your life?
Continue learning my craft, being a good dad, being a good person, being a good businessman, basically.
And you have, how many kids you have?
2.
2 kids? Oh, how old are they?
14, high school freshman, and a 5-year-old.
And a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So
girl and a boy.
Yeah, okay. Brian has 3 boys in his house. So
there you go.
11, 9, and 4.
All the food gone, huh?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Tornado goes through my house every single evening. You know what I mean? Everything's just trashed, and then you clean it up. You spend an hour and a half cleaning things up after they go to bed. I'm sure even with one, you know what it's like.
Yeah. The 5-year-old. Yeah, she goes there. Yeah, she's some energy.
Yeah. Oh, energy. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
She's fine though.
You sure you want to go down that road?
I think so. It sounds good. I watch him. It looks like a lot of work, but it looks enjoyable.
It's fun. You know what I mean? Yeah, but sometimes you get those days like, oh, okay, here's the noise.
Were you like to bring him into the ring
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
I have. But they'll get me, so that's all good.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we will talk a little bit more with Daleco James and Maurice Buchanan. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. If you're enjoying what you've heard so far, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. Also, giving our show a quick 5-star review with a few kind words helps us on our quest to reach the top of the podcast charts. Finally, since you can't make a mixtape for your friends and loved ones like you used to do, share this podcast with them instead. We hope our experiences resonate with others and inspire people to live their best lives. Thanks again. And now, let's take a minute to be present with our breath. If you're listening somewhere safe and quiet, close your eyes and slowly inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that one more time. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and open your eyes. You feel better? We certainly hope so. And now, back to the show.
So, can you guys talk a little bit more about your fitness expertise? You've talked about it a little bit, but can you kind of talk about the path that you started on maybe 15 years ago or however long ago it was when you're like, hey, I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
For me, it made sense, especially being a stuntman and learning how the body works in school.
So
I got to hear about this.
I was just going to say, so we got to hear about this. Yeah, can you? How did that start?
So I used to be a gymnast back in the day, and a martial artist at the same time doing boxing. Trying to do these tournaments, you know what I mean? Trying to win prize money. Got some, joined a team. Met some guys on the tournament. We joined the team. We formed it. And then we just did, a few jobs here and there, doing stunts and practicing, and just fell into my lap.
For those of us who don't know how this works, is that usually what you do when you're a stuntman? You just put together some people and approach like movie studios or television?
Yeah. So what we would do, we would do all these little fight scenes, and then our head guy, he would send them out, and you know what I mean. Hey, we can do this, we can do that. We actually did a local movie called Opposite Blood.
Nice.
You can look it up if you want to.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna. Our listeners are gonna too. So yeah, get that out there.
Absolutely. When should we look for you?
I'm throughout the whole movie. So like, there's some scenes that you'll see me twice. I mean, you'll be like, oh, okay, he's a bad guy right there. Oh, he's another bad guy. Okay, but you really gotta look though. You really gotta look. But it was a fun experience. And then did another movie called Final Weapon. That was kind of a big deal. I was in and out of that same thing. So we did the fight scene with the stunt team for that movie. We did performances, for like bodybuilding show, Yeah, it was back in the day. It was fun. We did some commercial stuff, fun.
And then somewhere along the line, you earned your master's in kinesiology.
Yeah. That was 2010, 2011.
So you're doing this stunt work, and then you decide, I'm gonna go back to school, or how does that all?
I just always want to keep learning. Like now, still want to learn, So.
And did you think to yourself, okay, when I get done with here, did I want to work at a gym, so it sounds like you did some work at rehab and
yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
I worked downtown Minneapolis, did some rehab work there. I worked at I was on a team, the rehab team, when I was in St. Joseph. Did some rehab things at some gyms here and there, like small gyms that closed down.
Was
internship at the Edge back in the day.
Gotcha. And you're talking physical rehab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in a rehab team, so it'd be like a physical therapist, and then some strength guys. I was part of the strength team as well. Working with the physical therapist and everything like that. So.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then Mo, what was kind of your path to where we are?
Well, I went to the U of M on a football scholarship, played there. My original major was going to be like computer graphic design. I was into like drawing and art and stuff like that. And then in my freshman year, I ended up hurting my back. What happens is if you're a redshirt freshman and you're going into like a bowl game and you're not going to play, they'll take the younger players and kind of try them at different positions, and kind of see kind of how they work out. I went into college as a defensive end, and then during bowl practice, I think that year we played Arkansas, I became a defensive tackle, so I was kind of in space, but I wasn't that big. I was only probably like 240 or so, but they try you out. They liked how I had with speed. I ended up in one practice got hit in the back. When I got hit in the back, my whole right side shut down. Like my right leg, I couldn't get anything to fire. It was like almost like I was kind of like dragging like dead weight.
Oh, no.
So, but stayed quiet about it and just kind of like, it was kind of like the mentality, like when are you hurt, kind of injured, like I can play through it, even though I knew something was wrong. It was probably like my first major injury as like a football player. And then when the season got over, I went back home like during like the break and tried to do like a barbell back squat and just warming up with just the bar, and I couldn't do it. Like I tried to squat and I could not get my right leg. I could not get my butt. I couldn't get anything to fire. There was so much pain. Something was wrong. So then ended up kind of went back when school started back up, went to the training facility, doing a lot of rehab, a lot of physical therapy. Nothing was working. It came down to the point that they wanted to give me like a shot in my spine. I'm only 18, 19 years old.
Wow.
That wasn't something I wanted to deal with. So then just running out of kind of ideas, this gentleman came in and they brought him off the street. I didn't know who he was, but like he looked disheveled and he did not look like he was a person that was like a doctor, but he was really good at like looking at people's bodies and understanding like what was going on. He took one look at me, because we were been focusing everything on my lower right side where the pain was coming from. He did a couple exercises where he looked at me and he goes, your problem is up top. And he's like, where did you get hit? And I was like, I got hit up here at the top. And he said, something's going on up there. We did a few exercises, and then like everything started to cut back on. So I'm like, I just thought that was so fascinating that we had seen all these people. I had seen doctors. I had seen physical therapists. We went over to physician neck and back, like where they deal with like car accident patients, and no one could figure this thing out. And then this gentleman that came in who did not look like who looked like he was homeless, and that's just how he dressed. And it also came back to this. He's a professional. He's not buttoned up, and this guy, and like that kind of sparked. Like I switched majors that year to kinesiology because that was just so fascinating for someone to look at the body. There was this puzzle. All these people looked at. He knew exactly what was wrong when he saw it. Did some things like that's where I kind of wanted to start it from. And then once I graduated, I did my internship with the Vikings. That was more operations interns, but still was kind of around like the strength and conditioning part, saw professional athletes training, the performance thing like that, and just got involved with that. And then just have been doing it since I graduated in 2006, I believe, and been doing training kind of ever since, and been kind of everywhere from private gyms, big corporate gyms. I've worked in the physical therapy place for about a year with people who have been in car accidents and just exploring this space. I want to explore this so much because just that moment where someone just looked at something, so many people could not figure it out. I was like, that was so fascinating to me to look at. I was like, I want to know how this thing that we all walk around in works. And that's kind of how everything kind of started off for me, and kind of been doing it ever since.
I had the same experience with a kinesthesiologist where I had a knot in my back because I had dislocated my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And this side was knotting up trying to compensate for it. And I walked in the guy's office, and he goes, okay, stand there. And he looks at me. He goes, now stand on one foot. He does all these balance tests. And then he goes, okay, I got it. Lay down. 5 minutes later, I'm walking away. Can you explain to me, Daleco, what the difference is, or Maurice, between a kinesthesiologist and more chiropractic? Or where's the line between those two?
Chiropractors, they focus them on the spine, I guess. You
just
know what
solely
I mean?
on the spine?
Yeah, solely. That's what I get from it. My knowledge about chiropractic is pretty low. But, kinesiology, the study of movement. You got to learn how to, learn how the muscles work, learn how they connect.
And in my experience, that's a lot more effective than traditional chiropractic because they more take a holistic approach towards the body. You look at the whole thing and how it relates to the other pieces. Mm-hmm. And that seems to me to be more effective strategy in making your body well. So,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you guys have clients first come to the gym, what are their habits, or is there kind of a standard of a first timer that comes to your gym or that sort of thing? I'm just kind of curious, like, why do people come here? What is it about this gym that stands out as opposed to, like, say one of the mega gyms, that kind of thing? Why would they come here? Why would they work with you guys?
I would say it's a lot more personable. We've both worked in like those settings before. I know Daleco, as I have, and like that was kind of the big piece when we were getting involved with this. Especially like when my first idea was like, I want to be an entrepreneur at this. It's like I got to at least learn the industry. I got to learn like what's going on, because like my first setting was I was in a very small private owned gym where it was just like one-on-one, and it was a very specific training modality, which was the old school like overload principle, high intensity training, where it was like one set to failure, Arthur Jones, Nautilus, that whole kind of concept. And I did that for like 6 years, and then I ended up leaving there. And then when it said, hey, I want to do this, but I had been kind of in a setting where they had like one frame of mind of how to train. I was like, there's got to be other ways to do this, but there's also got to be different, like, how does this all kind of work? Not even just from like the the physical side, but like the business side. And then you find out when you go to some of these clubs what they do. Some of it's just it's extremely sad how they treat people. Usually, like in some of the bigger gyms, you have a sales team and you have a personal training team, and those two teams do not talk. So what happens is you have a sales team, they sell the training to the client, and then they'll sell it to a trainer. And the trainer's like, oh, now this is your client. So now the client has a trainer, they're working, but the longevity of jobs in the training facility, in the training world is not very long. So there were times when I would get a person, and they were like, you're my sixth trainer. I'm your sixth trainer. What happens?
Wow.
And so what happens is the sales team has already made their commission. So you don't get your money back. That's done. They already paid the sales team. So you have these people who are like, they're locked in for year-long contracts, and they can't get out of it unless they pay like either half or a little bit more of what's left. And like they keep going with 6 different trainers who all have different mindset, different educations, and then also on top of it, what me and Daleco pride ourselves is our education, and is, you know, we both have degrees in this. This industry is kind of screwing itself badly, especially with people, because anybody that looks good naked or with no shirt on, all of a sudden now is a trainer, and that's a problem. So that's one of the big things as far as that stands out here, that stands out from a lot of other gyms, our education. And also, a lot of these trainers that hold like weekend certifications, you have these people who take 48-hour certifications and then do Saturday and Sunday, then on Monday or now can somehow work what they learned yesterday on a clientele full blown and charge full price. I know me and Daleco have talked before. We went through probably like 3 or 4 years of our degree before we even came in close to contact, because we always had someone looking over us. There was someone who knew more than we did, who mentored us like, hey, don't do it like this, do it like that. Because it's not just learning the anatomy of the body, but it's also how do you talk to people? What's your conversation? What are your coaching points? Do it like this, do it like that. What if someone's having a bad day and they're just not paying attention? You only get that by experience. And by doing that, us being like, we're dinosaurs in this, like 15 plus years. But you have a lot of other gyms where they throw trainers in there and they just showed up and they have no credentials, they have no education, they don't have no experience. So at the top of the list, that's the big thing that makes us stand out. Just our expertise in this, our experience in it, and kind of our craft as far as like taking this job seriously and not being like, hey, we look good when our shirts are off, so now I know more than you, which is not true. And usually you get that kind of attitude from someone who's like, you're 22, your genetics are phenomenal. Of course you look great. Doesn't mean you know anything at all.
Yeah.
You know, so you have that piece to it. And then on top of it, after I was talking about like kind of the sales team part, we're more personable. I know everybody that comes in here. We know what everyone's doing. We know what they're working on. They talk to us. We've sat down and had just like that personal experience. It's weird that it's called personal training, and you go into like the bigger settings, and that piece is completely taken out because you find out it's all about sales and money. You're person 1-A, B. No one knows who you are. You're seeing your sixth trainer for for over the last 6 months. Your goals now keep switching back and forth. You were learning a technique. Now you got to learn a different technique. And you have that kind of that's kind of what's happening. So when we meet people who come from those places, like, at least you know my name. You know, every time you come in, like it's just something like that. You know my name. Even like Daleco's clients, I know what they're working on. He knows my people too. We all know each other, you know, because sometimes like if Daleco signs up somebody like for a membership, I sign up for a membership, me and him communicate with each other because it's just us two that work. There's no front desk, but we run the whole show, us two together. So just by having that personableness here, you know, with people is when people come into this gym, if everyone needs any assistance, I know what his person's working on. I know what my person's working on, and we don't step on each other's toes. But it's like Daleco was teaching them this, then I'm going to keep going with that training because he's already made the connection with it. I'm not about to be like, no, don't do it this way. It's like Daleco's been doing this way. It's like that's how I'm doing. But just being able to have that connection with people and work with people, you know, on a personal level, that's the biggest standout, you know, for us to have. And it's a really big thing to have in this industry when everything else is kind of becoming less personal as this industry keeps growing.
We're going to talk about the role that like social media is playing in fitness a little bit later. I just wanted to say that as someone who is now a NASM certified personal trainer with very little experience, thank you for making me feel inadequate.
So I came up with the gym's slogan, WURK, making personal training personal again.
There you go.
I like it. No, that's a brilliant answer.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like safety is first, and it's when you're working with people, you're not looking at a robot. You're not looking at a model. Like people have personal things going on. They have emotional things going on. When you're trying to coach things, some people respond to aggression. Some people respond to you being a little tougher. Some people respond to just you pulling back so they can hear you. You only get that with experience. That's the only. You can only learn that. I think so many people just go from textbook and then think they can jump right into training people, and it just doesn't work that way because that's not how people respond to things. And it also because now you become liable. The amount of people, because when I first started, CrossFit wasn't even heard of. And then it slowly started to make its way up, and it started to become a lot more popular.
Yeah, it was known as caveman training back in the day. I remember that.
Right, okay. And then all of a sudden, you had all these trainers trying to teach CrossFit to Steve from accounting, who's never moved his body before. Now Steve on his first day is trying to do snatches, and you're like, and Steve's like, "What the fuck is going on, man? Like, hey, do I have? Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know?" But the trainer's like, "Well, this is my certification. This is what I paid for. I'm not going to teach you anything else. I spent a lot of money on it. The gym hires you because now CrossFit is popular, so now it's a branding thing. It's like CrossFit's in. Let's bring in CrossFit trainers. Then you find out in the very beginning, a lot of these CrossFit trainers have had no experience training people. They went through the class, and they trained other CrossFit enthusiasts, and then they put them in a non-CrossFit gym trying to teach non-CrossFit or CrossFit, and you watch the injuries start to pile up. Right. And just from how they coached it, and this is not picking on CrossFit, but this is just everything. Just the level of experience and knowing how to talk to people is so important in this industry, and it just flies by the wayside because, and we'll probably talk about it later, but just the social media thing and how entertaining this is. And when I see things like, I guarantee you this person could not coach this to somebody. You're jumping off the couch, you're spinning in the air, you're doing handstands. You're like, try my $99 workout. It's like, what? Who in the world is going to do this? And how in the world are you going to coach someone how to do these things? Like, what if their shoulders don't work? What if their knees don't work? And you don't get those components until you actually sit down with people and, okay, let me see how things are working. And it's just communication. That communication piece is so huge in personal training. And a lot of trainers who are first starting out are bad at communicating. And you should be. You haven't done it. You don't know how to talk to people, because you'd be surprised when you show up the first day, like, oh, I read this in the textbook. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start like this. And they take their first step and everything falls apart. And you're like, okay, how do I tell them what they did without insulting them, without making them feel bad? How do I make them say, oh, I thought you could at least do this, and now you can't. My textbook said this is step 1. And you realize step 1 is actually step 10. But you don't get that until you get experience and understand, okay, now how do I teach this from back this up? Where do I start? If my text said this is step 1, where do I go? Where do I go from a practice standpoint, an application standpoint, but where do I go from a communication standpoint? How do I talk this person into not quitting? Because my expectation was at least I thought you could at least thought you could do like a lunge, and that's not there. Uh-huh. So they're looking at you like, you're the professional. Tell me what I'm supposed to do, and you're like, I thought that was the first step, and then you're like, okay, and you watch trainers like deer in the headlight, like what am I now? What? But you don't get that. But like me and Daleco, like spent years with somebody else with a higher expertise, watching us for years when we did something, when we coached something, being like, no, do not do it like that. Say this instead of that. And just little tweaks like that people hear it differently than when you say something different. And kind of like what I say is like, if someone comes in here and they need to lose weight, me calling them a fat ass is not going to work out. If I want you to get on the bike, I want you to go work out. Me saying, hey, you're fat. And you might be fat not from the insult, but just you're carrying more excess body weight on your body. But I can say something different to get you and still get the same goal done, but saying it differently without, like making you feel bad about yourself. But again, you don't get that until you get experience. You have to get experience in this industry, and that for some reason has been thrown out the window.
And they think it's all about killing somebody too. Oh man, this new person, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna run to the ground. This is what I'm gonna do as a beginner. So they destroy this person, discourage them, and then now they want to come back. You know what I mean? Because they sore and they've been throwing up like crazy, and not something you don't want to do.
And that used to be like a badge of honor, like, oh, I left this person super sore. And like,
I've seen that before.
It's like you might have fucked them up, like real bad, like in not a good way, and like that used to be a badge of honor for young people. And like you see it all the time on social media, like, oh, I crawled out of the gym, or I threw up 3 times. It's like, that sounds horrible, son. Like that sounds like a bad idea. Like, why would you do that? And some people like find that appealing, but most people who need this more than anybody, like that's not a thing you want to do. Even like with like the fighters who are tough, our goal is not to get you to throw up. Our goal is not to have you be sore or hurt to where you can't do your actual sport. If I leave you so sore that you can't do sparring the next day or you can't do grappling the next day, I fucked up. I'm messed up. I'm over here. I'm over here cheering like, look how sore he is. It's like, but young trainers with no experience don't get that. They'll take a tough guy, and because they're experienced and because they're capable of doing a lot more than the general population, they'll try to put them through the ringer to do all kind of crazy, goofy shit. And all of a sudden, they can't do their actual sport for the next 3 or 4 days. When an experienced trainer knows, like, hey, we're going to pull this back a little bit. We're going to get the same thing accomplished, but leave you enough that you can actually do what you're supposed to do, what you came in here for. Okay, this is supposed to be a supplement to your actual sport. It's not supposed to take over your sport, but you only get that by doing it over repetition, and learning that thing kind of just through the ranks of just over the years and learning how to talk. And I apply these things to people.
It reminds me, so I've been in education for over 20 years, and when I was in college, I didn't go right into the classroom. I did my student teaching, and before I even student taught, I watched the teacher teach for a couple weeks, and then I got up, and the teacher was in the room for at least a couple weeks and said, yeah, this looks good, and this doesn't look so good, and now I'm giving you, and then he would hand me the reins for 6 weeks. And I'll tell you that even in my first year of teaching, I wasn't ready at all. And so that's with minds, and we're talking about bodies, and so I relate to that in such a way where it's like, yeah. And for me, like, just even though I'm a certified personal trainer, like I would say that I'm a little nervous sometimes when I'm working with people, because I don't have that. When you were talking about like the lunge is step one, and if they can't do a lunge, where do we back up from there? Well, that's a great question. That's a great question where I imagine someone who just has the certification wouldn't be able to answer that question, but someone like the two of you who has education and 15 years can answer that question and keep people moving in the right direction.
One thing that I didn't think about, which is amazing, is you're almost part psychiatrist while you're doing the physical aspect of it too.
Exactly,
like you were saying, what's going to motivate these people, and individually you have to figure that out. That's pretty amazing.
Plus making them feel comfortable too. That's another thing, making them feel comfortable.
Amazing.
We cool, and we joke around, but I mean, the work is always going to get done at the same time. So it's always about that. You don't want to be one of those trainers just trying to sell to them. I'm pretty laid back when I train, joke around with them a little bit, but other than that, we get the work done.
It does seem like you guys have a genuine interest in your clients, which frankly in the big gyms is just not there.
It's a team thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then plus I take no credit in their hard work, you know what I mean? They in their work, and I'm more of a, I guide them, but even like when I'm posting videos, I make sure I don't take the credit. You know what I mean? Like they're doing the work, Some trainers, they may celebrate, look what I did for this client.
Right.
I did this. They got this result because of me.
That's something I want to talk about too a little bit later. Because I've noticed that on your guys' social media feeds that you celebrate your clients over yourselves. So how has your approach to being a personal trainer changed over the last 15 years? And then how has your approach towards your own physical fitness changed over that time? Because I imagine, I don't know, do you lift the same way you did when you were in college as a football player?
No, not at all. My back issue, I still kind of have a little bit of that. I separated my shoulder as well. I also had some knee issues too when I played college. So there's been a lot of adjustment towards training and kind of taking like my ego out of it. It's still there a little bit. That kind of keeps me going, where you kind of, you train in a way where you're like, I want to still press what I used to press a long time ago. But as I'm, 36 now, so training's a lot different, especially now, with running a business and running a gym full time, like you can only fit in so much. And what you find out for us is everyone keeps coming up with like new ways to train, because now it's becoming more of it's entertainment now. So this new trainer can't say, hey, you can't have 15 trainers say do push-ups, because how do you sell that? If I say do push-ups, he's got to say, I got to do a push-up with a clap, and I got to do a push-up with a spin, and I got to do a push-up. So you have these people who are now trying to break down this very basic movement, because now it's about money. a general push-up will work out just fine. But now because, again, like what we talked about before, because you don't need any experience or education to get in this industry, you have thousands of people joining this field now, and everyone's trying to make money off it. So everyone's trying to make their program. And what we've done is we've stayed with the basics. We've seen the benefits. We don't feel that hype to now, okay, is this the new thing that's going on? Let's do that. Like the big thing that happened, it's a beneficial exercise, but like the hip thrusting exercise, like where you're on the bench, you got a barbell across your lap, and you're shooting your hips up and you're squeezing your hips to the top. Beneficial exercise, but there's also other ways to do it. But when we watch people online do it, you watch kind of how they do it wrong. They have too much weight on it. Their hips don't go up, but because it's such a popular exercise, and for whatever reason, butts are really popular.
Yeah,
so
it's all about that butt.
butts are real popular.
that butt.
Yeah.
You got something against butts?
Yeah. I mean,
No. It's just,
people act like butts just showed up 10 years ago. Butts have been around for a very long time, and you can still train your butt the same way people did a long time ago. And those same exercises still work, but because this is a marketing thing and it's an industry of what's new, people take things that have worked well in the past and throw it out and say, well, we got to do all these new different things, and like you don't. And we see kind of all the kind of young trainers like trying to come up with this list of nonsense because like I need to get more followers. I need to get more followers so I can get a supplementation deal, so I can get sponsored. Because you find out a lot of trainers are not really in it for the clientele. That's kind of like a catalyst to the next step of whatever you want to do, your YouTube channel or your supplement thing or whatever you want to do. And people are using clients as kind of like guinea pigs to get to their next thing, even though their programs are trash. But it's popular right now on social media, so you have a lot of trainers who are doing that. So for us, we've never fallen into that hype. It's like you'll lunge in here, you'll do push-ups, you'll do pull-ups because they still work.
Yep,
There's no
dips.
There's no reason for us to change that at all. If I can change it as far as maybe the intensity of it, the repetition, the rest in between, because the body, when you start to kind of learn, it'll adapt pretty quickly to things. 1 rep here, 5 more pounds, less rest time. Your body can switch gears and be like, okay, I now have to adapt to this. It doesn't have to. You don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over and over again. But people do it because like you need to make money. It's a business. You can't have 10,000 people say do lunges. I mean, you can. The human body doesn't care about our whatever we're doing in society. Is like, oh, lunges don't work. I'm like, yes, they do. Yes, they do. I can guarantee you cannot lunge all the weight in the world. There's plenty of weights you can't lunge, and until you hit that point, it's still a beneficial exercise. But nobody wants to see 10,000 pages of people just doing lunges. You want to see butts, and you want to see butts at angles where people are doing exercises where the butt looks nice on camera, but it's not a glute exercise. There are so many of those things where people are doing abducting motions for their glute medius and minimus,
oh my gosh,
and it's not for the maximus. But you face the camera the right way, the butt looks humongous, and all of a sudden it was like, I'm going to do that exercise. Your butt is not going to look anything different. It just isn't. It's going to look exactly because you're doing the wrong exercise and you're doing the wrong workout. If the area you're trying to train is your gluteus maximus, you're not doing the exercise for that. Just because it looks great on camera, just from that angle, does not mean it's a glute exercise. But that is being pushed forward. We look at so many different programs, and people will bring them in. It's like, this is all medius and minimus work. There's no glute maximus here whatsoever. But the Instagram person with 400,000 followers, like, I don't give a shit. Like, I mean, anatomy is anatomy. I mean, like, function is function. Those don't work. I don't care what that looks like. That person's had that butt since the 3rd grade. So, I mean, your butt's been flat forever. Your mom's butt is flat. Your dad's butt is flat. Your grandma's butt is flat.
Genetics, man.
Genetically, you got flat butt family. There's nothing happening here. Well, I don't care what you do.
Wrong. I mean, you may get some type of benefit. Yeah, a little bit. But, I mean, people got to keep it real. You know what I mean? I've seen people use the reverse hyper machine wrong. Think that's a glute exercise. It's for your lower back. You know what I mean? I've seen people use bands with it.
But the right angle, boy.
Yeah, the right angle.
Oh, man. Looks something special. You're like, oh, this is for the butt, right? You're like, but it's like by that logic, I guess bicep curls are for your butt. You see people do bicep curls and they'll film themselves from the back.
From the back doing bicep
while
curls.
Curling you like, and it's like, is that worth
I've seen that.
And we've heard it where people,
yeah.
where I'm like, it's like, hey, does this work your butt? And be like, okay, show me the video. And it's someone doing bicep curls. You're like, what's going on here? And it's like, but the angle, it's like that's the camera.
Right.
That's got nothing to do with the actual movement. So you hear this nonsense all the time, but it's happening so fast and at such a quick speed, and the algorithms they got going on. If you have 1 million followers, that just picks up speed, and you realize people are just kind of they're looking at the number at the top and not looking at what's actually being performed and what's done. So for us, workouts here, my own workout personally, I've stuck with what works that has stood the test of time.
Yeah, same here.
It will continue to work. There's no reason to change it up. Change it up as far as like maybe the order, maybe the rep count, things like that. Because my addiction to this, as far as the human body, which I'm obsessed with, is the result. I don't care about the task to get it done. I don't care what the tool you use. If you're telling me this one barbell can shape my entire body, I'm good with that. And I don't care if that gets 10 likes instead of getting 50,000. We're not going to lie to people. And there's a lot of lying and misinformation and pulling the wool over people's eyes. And people are draining a lot of their money because of the image of what people thinks works, because of the number at the top of people's profiles.
Do you guys ever engage with people who would disagree with what you said?
They try to.
They try.
Good luck. They try to, say a few things here and there. But I think they stop, because they know better. People would know better. Like when I shoot videos, right, of my female people that I train, okay, I've got a few DMs saying that they appreciate my videos for not sexualizing the video, from showing, the glutes, you know what I mean, from showing them from behind so much. Like, I actually show a good workout, you know what I mean? And I got, again, a few DMs saying, you know what I mean, I really appreciate your videos. It gets me motivated. And plus, I like the music, you know what I mean? And that, you're not, really focusing on, one part of the female body. You're actually showing them doing hard work, and that's what it's about, and that's what I like to show.
What's your workout been like this week, or what did you do today, or what did you do yesterday? Just kind of curious, like what your bare bones workout is. The one thing that I'm working with, I'm teaching a class down the road here, and it's just I call it Strength Foundations, and we do a squat or a lunge exercise, we do a hip hinge exercise, we do a push, we do a pull, we do a rotation, and we do a carry. So we just do 6 exercises, and it's just your standard, like, we'll do a lunge, and then we'll do like the hex bar deadlift, and we do like a chest press, or we do a shoulder press for a push, and then a row or a lat pull down for a pull, that sort of thing, and then some twisting ab work for our rotation, and then grab some dumbbells. We're just going to walk around and carry those. So I try to simplify it, and so I'm curious, is that your approach for your own personal workouts, or what do you guys do?
My personal workout, I just hold mitts. for the time being. I mean, I have a little disc injury that I have to work on, that I am going to be working on. But I mean, I get my cardio doing that and getting beat up by the fighters. I mean, that's my cardio.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
So you're doing exercises that address that disc issue.
Yeah, and that's something I have to do. Like living on the reverse hyper, doing a lot of ab work. You know what I mean? Strengthening my glutes. Things like that. Is
that something somebody could come to you guys for? Say if a person has an injury that they need to work around, but they still want to train around that injury. Is that something you guys specialize in?
Yeah, that's what we can do. But I would like to communicate with their physical therapist as well. Yeah. That's one thing. You know what I mean? I don't want to communicate with a chiropractor. Which no diss to the chiropractors out there. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I'd rather communicate with physical therapists who have that knowledge in, you know what I mean, in those types of injuries, But
what are you doing for your workouts, Mo?
Mine are simple. Like yesterday, I did bench press and push up as a kind of a superset, and then I did pull ups at the end. That was the whole thing. That was it. And then Sunday, I did lunges, and then I did kind of like a not a goblet, but kind of like a kettlebell squat where the bell's underneath me, but I felt like I could do a little hell. So we have farmer carry handles, and I just kind of loaded that up as it was a kettlebell and squatted with that. So like that was my whole workout, and I usually kind of show those on Instagram, just like to show people that if your goal is to be in shape, and I've said this so many times, so many people keep getting caught up. It's like, are you trying to be famous on social media? Is that what you're trying to? Or are you trying to be strong? If you're trying to be strong, it's beyond simple. The work ethic that's involved and the consistency is the hard part. The actual prescription of the exercise is not that complicated at all.
The stuff that Michael Jordan do.
The stuff that Michael Jordan did was one of the most
yeah.
basic work. You find out like a lot of these world-class athletes, your Hall of Famers had the most basic workout and could perform like out of one. By doing these kind of principle things and these basic things, they kept themselves safe. They kept their bodies from being injured. A lot of these people who are trying to do all these weird, goofy workouts end up getting injured because, one, it's too complex for them to do. It's not serving a purpose for what they're trying to get done. And you're doing it more for entertainment than overall strengthening and developing, stability in your body. And when you get down to that, like, what's your purpose for doing it? And that's one of the conversations we both have with clients, like, what are you trying to do? Because people will come in here with like, I want to do this. Why do you want to do this? Well, I saw so-and-so do it. It's like, are you getting paid to do this? Is this your career? You have a 9-to-5 job with 3 kids. You're not going to do this. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
You can't. This person gets paid to do this. They get to stay home and work out in the comfort of their home. You have to actually go to the office, before COVID happened. You have to actually go to the office and you have to drive home. You're not going to do this. One, you don't have the genetics to do it. One, you don't have the time to do it. One, you don't have the equipment to do it. And one, this workout is about 2 hours long. What is your plan here? Right. How are you going to consistently do this throughout the week? So what I like to show people, you can pick 3 exercises, 2 exercises, and if you do them as hard as you can, as safely as you can, you will get results as long as you're not eating like an asshole. On top of that, you'll be fine. But but that message, you can't. It's not as marketable, and it's not as salesy, and it's not as sexy as someone hanging upside down, or someone standing on like a physio ball while doing squats, and you're like, man, their health premium just went through the roof when they fall off that damn thing. Right. And you're like, why are you doing that? Why wouldn't you squat on a flat surface where you're more stable, where you can push more weight, where you have more control, where you're going to engage more muscle? You're going to do that. It's not going to be as entertaining as the ball thing. One, you're not going to die off of that thing. 2, you're going to get stronger. So, I like to kind of show those things that as popular as all these other things keep flying around, they're nowhere near as beneficial as the basics, and they're nowhere as more beneficial for whatever you're trying to accomplish. So I keep my workout pretty simple. One, I'm older, keeps me safer, and I can still be pretty strong and still be effective with what I'm trying to do.
I definitely, just in life, not just in exercise, but just in life, I struggle with paralysis by analysis. And so there have been times when I'm like, okay, I've got this buffet of exercises in front of me, and it's like, okay, well, if I do this one will hit the lat, but it doesn't really hit the mid back. So I better pull this row in right here, and I'm not really getting the traps in that one. So okay, now I've done 3 exercises. That's just the back. Okay, but now I gotta make sure I get my single leg work in here too. Okay, got my single leg work in here, and I would just load up on exercises, and I would burn myself out. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do these 4 exercises on Saturday, and I'm going to do these 4 or 5 on Sunday, and I'll do 5 because these are 5 exercises that I like doing. Right. And then I actually found like a kettlebell program that is very straightforward. It doesn't have you doing like all the loop-de-de-loops and all that you need technical ability to be able to do. And so that's kind of what's been my workout, which has been a challenge during COVID times because, 1, the gyms would shut down. 2, in Minnesota, you guys keep posting out like that 70-something-year-old woman who keeps coming to the gym when it's negative 13 degrees. Mm-hmm. Good on you, young lady, because I'm not getting outside. So I started working out in my living room because I'm like, forget that. During the week, I am not going outside because it's negative 6 here today. So listen, lady, you are an inspiration to me, but not a big enough inspiration to take my ass outside and go to the gym. I will do the workout at home. You guys really do feature your clients on your social media pages, and you've talked a little bit about that. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because when I follow a lot of people who are that I consider, I guess, worthy in my eyes, like legitimate fitness Instagrammers. Of course, I follow you guys on there. Most of them feature themselves. You guys feature your clients. So you've talked a little bit about that. Can you talk a little bit more about why that's important to you?
I just want to show the work, show them that they're doing their work. I just want to show my clients, just want to show, what they're doing. They're putting in this work. I don't need the credit. They get the credit. You know what I mean? They came into the gym. It's all about them. That's what I like to do.
And you guys got an amazing facility, so why not show your followers like what they're doing and how they're using that equipment? Because like if you go over to that jammer and that belt squat, that can be intimidating. Mm-hmm. But if you show somebody who just average Joe like anybody else, hey, you can come in and learn how to use that too.
Right.
It's kind of
got to work up
machine.
to it though. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's not your first step.
Yeah, right. But again, other than that, I just like to show them most of the time. You know what I mean? Show what they're working on and show their improvements. You know what I mean? Like oh man, this person's really improving on their things. You know what I mean? Again, the workouts may not look as sexy, but it's great music. Other than that,
you guys do have a solid soundtrack. I'll tell you that.
Other than that, again, I just want to show the work. You know what I mean? Show them they have good form and show their improvements. I don't need the credit. It's for them. It's about them.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we will talk a little bit more with Daleco James and Maurice Buchanan. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
Thanks for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. We will do our best to put out new content every Wednesday to help get you over the midweek hump. If you'd like to contact us, or if you have suggestions about what you'd like us to discuss, feel free to email us at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis. Check out the show notes for links to the articles and resources we reference throughout the show. Oh, and don't forget to show yourself some love every now and then, too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. Hopefully you guys are as pumped up as we are from listening to that conversation. Have you ever heard anyone describe themselves as a professional chameleon?
No, I love their very unique perspectives.
And their 10 words were far and away, like, those are so creative. Like, granted, we're ask all our guests. We're going to ask all our guests to give us their 10 words. I'm going to put a challenge out there now to all of our future guests to be as creative as these two guys were with their 10 words. It was really, really fantastic to see what they came up with. I love the idea that to them it's not just a gym, but they also want to do like art shows, because that's something that's a passion that Maurice had, is that he dabbles in art, and that he had a passion for graphic design, that sort of thing. It was they're so inspirational, they're so motivating, and they're so badass that I cannot wait for everybody to hear part 2.
Lots of fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So with that, we cannot wait to share part 2 with you guys later on this week. For Brian, this is Billy. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. May you feel happy, healthy, and loved. Take care, friends. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Mindful Midlife Crisis podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with your family and friends. We will do our best to put out new content every Wednesday to get you over the midweek hump. If you want episodes to be downloaded automatically to your phone each week, all you need to do is hit the checkmark, subscribe, like, or follow button, depending on what podcast format you're using. While you're at it, feel free to leave our show a quick 5-star review with a few kind words so more people like you can easily find our show. If you're really enjoying the show and you want to help us out, feel free to make a donation to www.buymeacoffee.com/MMC podcast. That's www.buymeacoffee.com/MMC podcast. You can also access the link in our show notes. We use the money from these donations to pay whatever expenses we incur from producing the show, but ultimately, we record this show for you, So if you keep listening, we'll keep recording and releasing new episodes each week regardless. If you'd like to contact us, or if you have suggestions about what you'd like us to discuss on future episodes, feel free to email us at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to the articles and resources we reference throughout the show. Thanks again for listening. May you feel happy, healthy, and loved.